Close your eyes. Think of the last time you stood near moving water, a river, a lake, the ocean, don't matter. Just the sound it make. Hold that. There's a number I haven't been able to check. The Amazon basin has the highest drowning rate in the world, higher than any ocean, the most dangerous body of water on the planet. And the people who live along the river, people who have fished it, swum it, build their entire lives around it, they don't always say drowned, they say taken. They say the way you talk about water, not fear, just fact. Her name is Iara, and she has been in that water for longer than Brazil has been a country. The Tupi-Guaraní, one of the largest linguistic groups ever to exist in South America. At the height, their language was spoken across more territory than the entire Roman Empire at its peak. From the mouth of the Amazon to the borders of present-day Argentina, they called her Iara, sometimes Ayara, two words from the old language. I means water, Nyara, lady, mistress, owner. She didn't live in the water, she owned it. When the Portuguese arrived in the 16th century, they wrote about her. Colonial missionaries, military officers, men who spent their careers dismissing everything the indigenous people believe, still took the time to document this. They compared her to the Sirens of Homer. They're wrong. Homer's sirens were always monsters, born that way. Yara wasn't. The Tupi has dozens of versions of her story, regional variations across thousands of kilometers, but hers would never change. In every version, every region, every generation, she didn't choose this. Something was done to her first. She became what she is because of what has done to her. Before she was a Yara, she was a doctor. Her father was a great shaman, a paje, and she was his best student, better than her brothers, faster, stronger, more skilled in everything a warrior in the world need to be. Her brother knew it, and they headed for it. They waited until she was sleeping. They came in the dark. They threw her in the river. Her father found out and did nothing. The river took her, but not the way the air takes the dead, not quietly, not finally. The river gave her something back. She came back to the edge of the water, and she started to sing. The Tupi described her voice as something that doesn't enter through your ears. It enters through your chest, like finding something that was already inside you, something that you have been waiting. Men heard it from the banks. Fishermen heard it from the canoes at midnight. Hunters deep in the forest heard it from a kilometer away, and they went toward it. Not because they were forced, not because they lost control of themselves, because in that moment nothing else in their life mattered. No wife, no shield, no home, no future. Nothing felt more real than that song. The song didn't save them, it showed them something true, something they actually want, and that is so much worse. She doesn't take everyone. The Tupi say she is deliberate. Some men hear the song, she don't appear. Some nights she don't sing at all. She chooses. And the records are specific about what happens to the one she chooses, because it's not the same from everyone. Some men drown. The canoe found floating downstream. The boat surfacing days later, not at all. This is the version most people know. It is not the most disturbing one. Some men came back, physically intact, walking on their own, but something essential in them stayed in the water. There's a word in Portuguese for this, encanado. It translates as enchanted, but that translation lost something important. In the original sense, encanado means you have been captured by something that you no longer want to escape. These men spend the rest of their lives trying to return to the river. The page can attempt to cure, but the man doesn't want to be cured. The river is the only real thing left in his world. And there is the third thing, the one almost nobody tells. Some men she kept. She takes them below the surface to her palace, deep in the river. She tends to them. She stays. She chose them above all others, and they were happy there. The accounts are specific about this. They do not suffer. They do not want to live. But there is what the accounts also say. She is immortal. They're not. She watched them age in her palace at the bottom of the river, where nothing decays, where nothing changes. They change, year by year, the way all human things change. And then they die, and she's alone again. And eventually, because what else though is an immortal do, she started to sing again. Nobody knows what she's looking for. The man who found out never came back to tell us. The community along the Amazon don't pretend she don't exist. They have lived alongside her for a very long time, and they figured out how to navigate that. They don't whistle near the river after dark. Whistling attracts her attraction. Children learn this before they learn to swim. If you need to fish at night, and something you do, you bring tobacco. You lay it on the water before you get in. You say her name. You acknowledge her presence. The elders say she don't take men who respect the river. She takes the men who act like they own it. And if you hear her, if you feel that sound entering your chest, you close your eyes. Do you remember that water I asked you about at the start of this? The Tupi say her song sounds like something you already know, like a memory of a place you've never been. This is the part you need to understand. You won't recognize it at the street. It will feel like something you've been missing your whole life. The Brazilian government's official drumming statistics from the Amazon basin have been consistent for decades. The rates remain among the highest in the world, year after year. In 2019, researchers documenting riverside communities in the state of Amazonas recorded something specific. In multiple villages, residents described men who had pulled from the river after near drowning incidents, physically intact, behaviorally altered, unable or willing to explain what they had experienced. The medical category offered has a dissociative episode. The communities had a different word for it. In 2021, Brazilian anthropologist Sandra Bennett, herself a Guarani, published documentation of contemporary Tupi-Guaraní communities, maintain active ritual protocols around river crossings, not as cultural tradition, as practical, ongoing procedure. She noted that communities most consistent in their practice report a few incidents. I'm not telling you what to conclude from that. I'm telling you what she found. You can do whatever you want to do with it. Here's what I've been thinking with. Every culture in the world has a danger figure at the water's edge. The Wandine, the Rusalka, the Kelpie, something at the boundary between land and water that pulls you in. But the Iara is different from all of them, because she was killed first by her brothers while she was sleeping, by a father who found out and chose not to act, and then a river that has been flowing for millions of years giving her something back. I kept returning to one question. Is she a monster? Or is she what a monstrous act creates? But there's something else. Something the legend shows you if you stay with it long enough. She takes them to her palace. She loved them in her way. She watched them grow out. She watched them die. And then she's alone again, at the surface, singing. For 500 years, every man she closed, every one she kept, gone. If the Tupi were building a warning about what happens when the people who are supposed to protect you don't, maybe they are also building something else. A portrait of what the wonder looks like after 5 centuries of trying to help it. Close your eyes. The sound of the water you threw off at the beginning. Is it still there? She still there too. I want to tell you something. My name is Dark. I was born in Brazil. And I spent years watching the stars disappear, slowly, carefully. Because nobody thought they were worth telling in a language the rest of the world could hear. I think they are worth it. I think you do too, or won't still be here. Subscribe. New legends every Thursday. And if this one stay with you, leave a comment. Tell me, did you picture the river, the song, was the water moving? And tells me, which fate do you think is the worst? In the next week, there's a creature that has been inside every Brazilian home. Every single one. It does knock. It does ask. And if you ever lost something and found it in a place you know you didn't leave it, well, I see you in the next legend.